Have you ever been in a situation where something happens that may not be a big deal for those around you, but you get a strong emotional reaction about it, but don't really understand why? Maybe you suddenly feel anxious, sad, guilty, or angry. And after reflecting on the situation later on, you realize that your reaction was out of proportion. Well, you're not alone. We all get triggered. Hi, my name is Daniela Moore, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. Today, I'm going to talk about why you get triggered and what can increase a person's likelihood of developing triggers. A trigger is anything that evokes a strong and unexpected emotional reaction or causes us to relive a painful or traumatic experience from the past. Triggers can also elicit unprocessed and unhealed wounds from unmet needs that we've been carrying around with us. Triggers can be anything: a person, a smell, a touch, an environment, a scent, an interaction, a situation, anything. When we think of triggers, we tend to think of unpleasant experiences, but triggers can be anything from traumatic events to joyous occasions. Some triggers take you back to pleasant experiences in the past and bring up pleasant emotions or memories. But oftentimes, our triggers unconsciously take us back to painful or traumatic experiences. These triggers can cause a lot of discomfort or distress, and in some cases, can impact our lives very negatively. Although it's not fully clear how triggers are formed, some researchers believe that the brain stores traumatic memories differently than non-traumatic memories. When we experience a painful or traumatic event, adrenaline spikes and stress hormones run through our body and brain. Our nervous system becomes activated, our bodies become dysregulated, and we get into survival mode. In this state, we are more reactive than responsive, and usually our typical reactions are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Our brain is constantly processing information in our surroundings and our experiences and making interpretations about them all the time with pleasant and unpleasant experiences. Our brain pairs or make associations with elements in our experiences, like a tone of voice, a specific word, any sounds, a scent, the setting that we're in, objects, or anything that the brain can pick up. Then later on, when you are in the presence of whatever it is that your brain picked up on, it will alert you or trigger you unconsciously, taking you back to that experience. Anything can become a trigger. When we experience a trigger, the brain interprets that as an event in the moment, causing the body to experience symptoms as it did in response to a past event. This is because the brain doesn't know the difference between a memory and what is happening in the present moment. This is a natural mechanism in which the brain is alerting us of danger and activating our nervous system in an effort to protect us from future harm. The brain's job is to help you survive. The interpretations that our brain makes are not always accurate or realistic. You have to work on teaching your brain more accurate interpretation and teach your body to deactivate and regulate itself when facing a trigger. This is not to say that you won't have an emotional experience at all around these triggers when you learn to cope better with them. It means that they may not evoke that strong of an emotional reaction, and you may not feel out of control. You learn to respond to your surroundings and internal states more consciously and feel more regulated. In other words, your triggers may no longer overwhelm you or have such a negative impact on your life. Something I want to highlight: our triggers are rooted in our past painful and traumatic experiences. And if trauma is a significant factor for you, consulting with a mental health professional can be particularly helpful and important for individualized support and guidance. If this video is adding value to you, please smash the like button for me. Susceptibility to emotional trigger is different for everyone. Here are some common factors that can increase the person's likelihood of developing triggers. People with a history of trauma or significant stress are more likely to be triggered. So events or situations that remind you of a painful or traumatic experience, such as accidents, abuse, or loss, can trigger you. Certain memories, typically associated with embarrassment, failure, disappointment, fear, can lead you to feel unpleasant emotions when you find yourself in similar situations. Interactions with certain people or reminders of past relationship issues can also evoke strong emotions like sadness, anger, or frustration. Events or special dates associated with a meaningful loss or grief, such as the loss of a loved one, can be emotional triggers that bring up feelings of sadness, sorrow, or anxiety. The environment in which we grow up and live has a major impact on us. Factors like family dynamics, socioeconomic status, or cultural influences can shape how you perceive and respond to triggers. Also, individuals with a mental health condition, like mood disorders, anxiety disorders, or post-traumatic stress syndrome, are more susceptible to emotional triggers. These conditions make it more difficult to regulate emotions effectively. People with high levels of emotional resilience are better equipped to handle difficult situations without being strongly triggered. People who have developed effective skills and strategies to cope with difficult situations or emotions, such as mindfulness, problem solving, assertiveness, or who seek support, are more resilient when facing triggers. This is great news because it means that we can build and develop stronger emotional resilience as well as effective and more adaptive skills. It's not always easy to identify our triggers. It's very difficult to pinpoint what evokes a strong reaction when we are in a state of heightened emotions and dysregulated nervous system. Oftentimes, it is through the process of reflection and evaluation that we can develop better insight and understanding. Make sure to check out my videos on how to identify and understand better your triggers and how to regulate yourself when you're triggered. I'll link them to this video. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, you know what to do. Smash that like button for me. And here's a quote to end today's video. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They're buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time so we can continue to evolve more.